Jake Morrison and his friends were disgusted when they saw Zara Washington make the cheer squad at Westfield High. To them, she was a black girl who didn't belong among their traditionally white cheerleaders, so they tried to get rid of her by attacking. But what Jake couldn't see beneath Zara's composed silence was tactical training from her Navy SEAL father. They thought she was helpless. He was catastrophically wrong. The gymnasium buzzed with nervous energy as Coach Peterson announced the new cheer team, Zara Washington. She'd made it. Around her, congratulations mixed with barely concealed surprise. From across the gym, Jake Morrison was staring, his jaw tight. He leaned over to whisper something to Tyler Knox, who shook his head with disgust. Brandon Mills just looked confused, following his friend's lead. Walking to her car afterward, Zara noticed the football players had positioned themselves near the doors. "Excuse me," she said politely, trying to pass. Jake stepped slightly to the right, not quite blocking her path. "So, you're the new addition to our cheer squad?" "That's right." Zara met his gaze directly. "Our fans have certain expectations about what their cheerleaders should look like," Jake said. "Traditional, the kind of girls who represent Eagle pride, blonde hair, school spirit, the whole package. This school is about excellence, academics, and representing our community with pride." "That's exactly what I plan to do," Zara replied. "We'll see about that. Football season's a long road. Not everyone's cut out for it. Good thing I am." She pushed past them, feeling their stares burn into her back. "Are you kidding me right now?" Jake's voice dropped low. "They actually put her on the squad." "This is exactly the kind of garbage that's ruining our school," Tyler spat. "My dad's going to lose his mind when he finds out they put some diversity hire on the squad instead of Ashley Martinez. Our fans don't want to see that representing our school." Jake shook his head. "She's about to find out what kind of school this really is." The harassment started small. Monday morning, Zara arrived at her locker to find it slightly ajar, her books rearranged. By third period, word had spread. During lunch, Tyler Knox walked past her table, his shoulder bumping her chair hard enough to jostle her backward. "Oops," he said without stopping. The real message came during study hall. Someone had tagged her in an Instagram post, a screenshot of the cheer team announcement with her name circled in red. The caption read, "Guess Westfield's going woke now. R.I.P. Real Eagle Pride." The comments made her stomach turn. Diversity hire much. She doesn't even look like she belongs here. At practice, Brittany Stevens positioned herself directly in front of Zara, stepping backwards during routines, forcing Zara to adjust constantly. By the end, Zara had been stepped on twice and elbowed once. That evening, sitting across from her father at their kitchen table, Zara showed him the Instagram post. Commander Washington's expression darkened. "This is just the beginning. They're testing you, seeing how you'll respond. So what do? Document everything. But don't react yet. Let them show their hand." His smile was razor thin. They picked the wrong girl to intimidate. The harassment escalated over the next 2 weeks. Tuesday, Zara found her cheer shoes missing from her gym locker. Wednesday brought a banana on her car windshield with a note, "Monkey see, monkey do." Thursday, someone had scratched "Go home" into her locker door. Principal Martinez sighed when she reported it. "Maybe keep a low profile. Sometimes it's better to let these things blow over." Friday brought the incident that changed everything. It was game day, and Zara was walking toward the gym when Jake Morrison grabbed her left arm. "Hey, new girl, got a message for you." Tyler Knox seized her right arm while Brandon Mills blocked the view. "Teaching you a lesson about knowing your place," Jake snarled. They shoved her backward toward a muddy puddle. Zara hit the water hard, her uniform skirt tearing on broken concrete. Cold, dirty water soaked through her clothes. "Looks like you slipped," Jake said loudly. "How clumsy." Brittany Stevens pulled out her phone. "This is so going on Instagram." The football players high-fived each other. "Nice uniform," Tyler called. "Really brings out your eyes." Zara sat in the muddy water, memorizing this moment of feeling. The sound of their laughter, the taste of humiliation, and the absolute certainty that this could never happen again. That night, she told her father everything. "I need you to teach me everything. How to defend myself, how to fight back, how to make sure this never happens again." Commander Washington studied his daughter with respect. Physical confrontation should always be the last resort. "They already crossed that line, that they put their hands on me today." "Fair point. But there are other ways to handle bullies. Strategic ways." His smile was cold as winter steel. "Tell me everything you know about them. We're going to plan this like a military operation." Saturday morning brought Zara's first lesson. "Forget everything you think you know about fighting," Commander Washington began. "Real combat is about efficiency. You identify the threat, neutralize it, and get out. 3 seconds or less. But before any of that, you observe, you learn their patterns, their weaknesses. Information is power, and power is leverage." They drilled basic defensive moves for an hour. "Your advantage isn't strength," her father explained. "It's speed, intelligence, and the element of surprise. They expect you to be a victim. Use that assumption against them." He handed her a notebook. "Your homework starts now. I want detailed intelligence on all 3 targets. Where they park, what routes they take between classes, who they spend time with, everything. Monday morning, Zara began her reconnaissance. Jake Morrison pulled up in his black Dodge Challenger at exactly 7:47 a.m. Tyler Knox arrived 3 minutes later. Brandon Mills came last, dropped off by his mother. After 3 days of observation, she had 15 pages of notes. "Excellent work," her father said. "Now, what have you learned about their vulnerabilities?" Jake's entire identity is built around football and his reputation. He's being recruited by State University in Alabama. Tyler's family has money problems, and Brandon's just desperate to belong somewhere. And how might their college prospects disappear if they got in serious trouble, or if evidence surfaced of behavior that college recruiters find unacceptable? Commander Washington nodded approvingly. Thursday morning, he slid a manila folder across the table containing photocopies of prescription bottles and white pills. "The nurse's office has poor security. These are expired anxiety medications. You want me to plant drugs in this truck? I want you to create a situation where Jake Morrison faces real consequences for the first time in his privileged life." Friday afternoon, Zara waited in the parking lot. When Jake went to the weight room, she quickly opened his Challenger's passenger door. She slipped a prescription bottle under the seat and scattered loose pills in the center console. 2 hours later, an anonymous tip was called to the school's drug hotline. Principal Martinez and Deputy Collins approached Jake during practice. "Morrison, we need to search your vehicle." They found the prescription bottle almost immediately. "I've never seen that before in my life." Jake's voice cracked. "Someone planted drugs." "Possession is possession," Principal Martinez said. "I'm suspending you, pending investigation. But we have playoffs coming up. College scouts are coming to watch." That evening, State University withdrew their recruitment offer. Alabama followed the next morning. With Jake expelled, Tyler Knox stepped into the leadership vacuum with rage. "Someone destroyed his life, and I'm going to find out who," he announced at lunch. Commander Washington reviewed the intelligence files on Tyler. "Tyler's been selling vapes to underclassmen behind the gym." He showed Zara the evidence. "We don't need to plant evidence this time. We just need to make sure the right people find out." Tuesday afternoon, Zara positioned herself with her phone camera and recorded Tyler completing 2 transactions with freshman boys. Wednesday morning, she anonymously submitted the video to Principal Martinez. The confrontation happened during chemistry. They searched Tyler's locker and found 12 vaping devices, nicotine pods, and nearly $300 in cash. "This is a setup," Tyler protested. "Someone's targeting our team." "We have video evidence," Principal Martinez replied. "You're suspended pending expulsion hearings." With Jake expelled and Tyler facing charges, Brandon Mills reached his breaking point. "We need to meet," he told Jake. "I figured out who's been doing this to us." "Doing what to us? Come on. You really think it's a coincidence that we all got busted right after we messed with that black cheerleader?" An hour later, the 3 boys sat in Tyler's garage. "This is insane," Tyler said. "You're saying some cheerleader masterminded our downfall?" "She's the only person with motive," Brandon replied. "If she's been playing games with us, then it's time to show her what happens when you mess with the wrong people. We find her, corner her somewhere private, and get some answers," Brandon continued. "Then we make sure she understands that some battles aren't worth fighting." They found her address in the school directory, 1247 Maple Street. "This ends tonight," Jake said. Wednesday evening at 8:30, Zara set out on her usual walk through the neighborhood. 3 blocks from home, she heard a car engine slow down behind her. A dark pickup truck was crawling along the curb, matching her pace. She pulled out her phone to call her father. "Don't even think about it." Tyler's voice came from her right, blocking her path. Brandon appeared from behind a parked car on her left, completing the triangle. Jake approached from behind. "We need to talk," Jake said. "We know you're behind everything that's happened to us." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Stop lying." Tyler's face flushed. "You destroyed their lives. What did we ever do to deserve this?" "Actions have consequences," Zara replied calmly. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you put your hands on me." Jake's expression darkened. "So you admit it?" "I admit that bullies eventually face justice." "You think ruining our futures is justice for some stupid prank?" Tyler stepped forward. "You humiliated me in front of half the school. You tore my uniform. You made me feel powerless and afraid." "Good," Jake snarled. "Maybe now you understand how we feel. I want you to understand that there are people you can't intimidate. We're not cowards," Tyler exploded, lunging toward her. Zara sidestepped and drove her elbow into his ribs. She pivoted to face Jake, ducking under his arms and driving her fist into his solar plexus. Brandon tried to grab her, but she used his momentum to flip him over her hip. Tyler came at her again, and she struck his nose with a sharp crack. Blood spurted as he staggered backward. Jake pulled something from his pocket, a knife. "Enough games," he gasped. "You want to play war? Let's play war." He lunged with the knife. Zara caught his wrist with both hands, redirecting the blade away. She twisted sharply until he dropped the weapon, then drove her knee into his stomach and followed with an uppercut. Jake collapsed, semi-conscious. 3 opponents down in less than 30 seconds. The first police cruiser arrived within 3 minutes. "Nobody move," Officer Martinez commanded. "Hands where I can see them." "Officer, my name is Zara Washington. These 3 boys cornered me and one of them pulled a knife. I defended myself. She attacked us," Tyler protested. "We were just trying to talk to her." "With a knife?" Officer Martinez asked. Commander Washington's truck roared around the corner. He'd been monitoring police scanners. "That's my daughter," he said, pulling out his ID. "Commander David Washington, retired Navy SEAL." "Did you follow protocol?" he asked Zara. "Yes, sir. I tried to avoid confrontation, called for help when I couldn't, and used minimum necessary force when cornered." Jake struggled to his feet. "She's been destroying our lives. I lost my college scholarships because of her." "Because you brought drugs to school," Zara replied evenly. "Drugs you planted. Prove it." Jake exploded. "You hear that? She has nothing to hide because she planned everything perfectly, getting revenge on us for putting her in her place at school." Commander Washington's expression hardened. "So you admit to targeting my daughter?" "It wasn't like that." Brandon backtracked. "It was just normal high school stuff. Normal." Zara's voice carried an edge. "Shoving me into a mud puddle and tearing my uniform was normal." "You didn't belong on our team," Tyler shouted. "You never belonged at our school." Officer Martinez exchanged glances with her partner. "I think we need to have some serious conversations downtown about harassment, assault with a deadly weapon, and civil rights violations." "Civil rights?" Brandon's voice cracked with panic. "Targeting someone because of their race is a federal crime, son." As the boys were loaded into police cars, Zara finally allowed herself to breathe. The confrontation was over. The weeks following the arrest transformed Zara's life. The FBI opened a federal hate crime investigation. Agent Sarah Kim explained, "The knife attack was just the culmination. We've been building a case around systematic harassment based on race. This goes beyond assault." The media attention exploded when Ring doorbell footage of the fight surfaced, showing 3 boys cornering one girl, Jake pulling a knife, and Zara systematically defeating all 3. "Teen girl fights off racist attackers," screamed the headlines. CNN's Anderson Cooper interviewed Zara. "When those 3 boys cornered you, what was going through your mind?" "That this was what my father had been preparing me for. The moment when I had to choose between being a victim or standing up for myself." The interview drew 20 million viewers and sparked national debates. Back in Westfield, the community divided. The school district found itself under federal investigation. Principal Martinez was placed on administrative leave. Coach Reynolds was fired when investigators discovered he'd been aware of the harassment. 3 months later, plea negotiations began. The evidence was overwhelming: text messages planning the attack, social media posts full of racial slurs, witness testimony, and the Ring camera footage. Jake's attorney tried to negotiate. "My client is willing to plead to simple assault. No hate crime charges." "Duh," Rebecca Chen laughed coldly. "Your client brought a knife to attack a 16-year-old girl because of her race. We have him on video. The plea is assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy, and federal hate crime violations. 4 years minimum." Agent Kim intercepted his jailhouse calls yesterday. He called Miss Washington the N-word 6 times and promised to finish the job when he gets out. Does that sound like remorse? Similar conversations played out with the other lawyers. Only Brandon showed genuine remorse, writing apology letters and participating in counseling. 6 months after the attack, the plea agreements were finalized. Jake would accept for years. Tyler would accept 3 years. Brandon would plead to 18 months in juvenile detention. The final court session took place on a cold March morning. Judge Patricia Reynolds reviewed the case file before the packed courtroom. Day Chen delivered her arguments. The defendants engaged in a systematic campaign of racial harassment that culminated in a premeditated assault with a deadly weapon. Text messages referred to Miss Washington, using racial slurs, and discuss ways to get rid of her. Jake's attorney attempted damage control. They're confused, angry teenagers who made poor choices. They've already lost everything. Have they? Chen pulled out transcripts. "Yesterday, we intercepted jailhouse communications where Mr. Morrison refers to the victim using racial slurs and promises to finish what we started upon release." Judge Reynolds studied the documents with displeasure. "Mr. Morrison, stand up. In 30 years on this bench, I've seen many young people make mistakes, but what you did goes far beyond teenage error. You targeted a fellow student because of her race, escalated that harassment over months, and attacked her with a deadly weapon. I sentence you to 4 years in state prison, followed by 3 years supervised probation with mandatory racial sensitivity counseling." Tyler received 3 years. Brandon received 18 months for his cooperation and demonstrated remorse. Judge Reynolds addressed the courtroom. "Let this case serve as a warning. Hate crimes will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." The defendants' futures were destroyed not by their victims' response but by their own choices. She looked at Zara. "Miss Washington, would you like to make a victim impact statement?" Zara stood slowly. "I didn't want any of this to happen. I wanted to make the cheer team, get good grades, and have a normal high school experience. These defendants took that choice away when they decided I didn't belong in their world. She turned to face the three boys. You thought you could intimidate me into disappearing. Instead, you taught me that standing up to bullies is the only way to stop them. I hope prison teaches you what empathy couldn't, and I hope you spend the rest of your lives making up for the hatred you've spread. As the gavel fell, reporters surged toward the exits. Outside the courthouse, Zara and her father stood on the steps as cameras flashed. Miss Washington, how do you feel about the sentences? I feel like justice was served. These boys learned that actions have consequences, no matter who your family is or what you think you're entitled to. What message do you have for other students facing harassment? Document everything. Tell trusted adults, and remember that you have the right to defend yourself and demand justice. Commander Washington wrapped his arm around his daughter's shoulders. I'm proud of her for standing up for herself and for every student who will never have to face what she faced because of her courage. 1 year later, Zara Washington stood at the podium in Westfield High's renovated auditorium, addressing an assembly about anti-bullying and racial justice. A year ago, I thought my biggest challenge would be learning cheer routines. I never imagined I'd have to fight for my right to exist in this school without harassment. But I learned something important. Bullies only have the power you give them. When you stand up and demand justice, they lose that power. Madison Clark, now team captain, found her afterward. That was amazing. They needed to hear it, Zara replied. The changes at Westfield had been comprehensive zero-tolerance harassment policies, mandatory diversity training, anonymous reporting systems. The football program was rebuilt with coaches who prioritized character over wins. That evening, Zara found her father in the basement gym. How did the assembly go? Good kids are listening. Some shared their own stories about harassment afterward. You've become quite the speaker. Harvard's going to be lucky to have you. Zara had been accepted to Harvard with a full academic scholarship. She'd also received offers from 12 other universities. I keep thinking about what you said that first night about creating your own justice when the system fails. Do you regret it? Zara considered seriously. The past year had been difficult. Death threats, constant media attention, stress of testimony. But it had also brought unexpected rewards, friendships with students who admired her courage, respect from adults, and the knowledge that she'd helped create real change. No, she said finally. I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret fighting back. 2 weeks later, Zara received an unexpected visitor. Brandon Mills stood nervously on her front porch, accompanied by his mother and a social worker. He looked different than her, more mature, with eyes that held genuine remorse. Zara, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I understand now how wrong we were. How much we hurt you. What do you want from me? Brandon, nothing. I just wanted to take responsibility and tell you I'm sorry. Really sorry. I'm transferring to Lincoln High. Starting fresh. But I wanted to make sure you knew that I understand now. What we did was evil, and you had every right to fight back. Zara looked at this broken boy who had once helped humiliate her. She felt no satisfaction in his downfall, only acknowledgement that justice sometimes looked like this, messy, incomplete, but real. I hope you've really learned from this, Brandon. I hope you spend the rest of your life making sure other kids never face what I faced. I will, I promise. As they left, Zara felt a strange sense of closure. Standing in her doorway, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. A year ago, she'd been a girl trying to fit into a hostile environment. Now, she was a young woman who'd proven that justice was possible. She'd fought for her place in the world and won. More importantly, she'd made that place a little safer for everyone who came after her. The battle was over. The victory was complete. And Zara Washington was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead.